Welcome in to Greenville Grit. This is Greenville Residents in Touch with your hosts, Terry Williams and Michael Overton. This is the show that keeps you connected and in touch with the issues that affect what's happening in your community. Greenville Grit is sponsored by Greenville Toyota, the Overton Group, and Solar Creations. Now, here are your hosts for Greenville Grit, Terry Williams and Michael Overton.
Welcome to the Greenville Grit. I'm Michael Overton, along with my co-host today,
Dennis Mitchell.
All right, Greenville Grit, or Dennis, thank you for coming back today. We've got a special guest on us, Thomas Taft. Appreciate you joining us, Thomas.
Thank you very much for having me, Michael.
Oh, you're very welcome, man. We got to kind of change the segment up. We usually go to a quick commercial break, but first of all, I want to thank our sponsors, Bill Clark Homes. Thank you, Bill, for coming on to the show, sponsoring us. If you're looking for a new home, in the Greenville area, Wilmington, Fayetteville, they're all over the place, Morehead City, probably Myrtle Beach too. Call Bill Clark Homes. Also, Greenville Toyota. If you're looking for a new vehicle, used or new, call Craig Oast and the Greenville Toyota team. Mike Robertson at Solar Creations. Looking for home security or sound, call Mike Robertson at 321-7006. And the Overton Group, real estate and property management professionals with offices in Greenville and in New Bern. We do business brokerage, residential, commercial real estate, and property management. Thomas, thank you again for coming on. And I know one of the reasons we got you on today is to talk a little bit about some of the projects that you've got going on in the Uptown District, as well as maybe even outside of that. Can you give us an update on what's going on with the Taft Ward project?
Yeah, absolutely, Michael. And again, it's great to be on here with former Councilman Dennis Mitchell, who's been such a proponent of the growth here in Greenville over the past couple of years, and was a big proponent of us getting our project down at Reed Circle off the ground. And we are finally officially off the ground. We took delivery of our big rig crane on Monday morning. We've been pushed back about a month because of all the weather up and down the East Coast. As everybody else has been pushed back, we kind of we fell in line. So we're really pleased to have it there. We started the erection of the parking deck this week. We're actually up to 3 floors on the stairwell, as well as the first floor of the precast concrete has been laid as well. I don't know if you've had a chance to get down there, guys, but it's a pretty impressive machine. It's gigantic, for lack of a better word. So we're extremely pleased. We're back on schedule there. We're still looking for probably a May delivery time of 2015 for that. But you know, with the way the weather's been this year, it could easily be pushed back a little bit. We're really excited about the way things are going, though. We've had some real interest in the retail there. And I think people are seeing Greenville and especially downtown Greenville, or uptown Greenville, excuse me, as a destination shopping area. And we're getting some national attention, and we're extremely pleased about it.
Well, just for those maybe tuning in for the first time, kind of give a breakdown what the project consists of, how many rooms, how much retail, and what it's going to do to Uptown
Absolutely.
District.
Well, we don't have a name for it yet. We're still working on it, so we'll just call it Georgetown for now. It was on the site of the former Georgetown Apartments. It's going to be 545 student housing beds. Each one of those beds is going to have its own bathroom, and they'll share a common area, either a studio, a 1-bedroom, a 2-bedroom, a 3-bedroom, or a 4-bedroom. So 224 units, I believe, is the breakdown of that. It's about a 260,000 square foot building. It's going to cost approximately $42 million. And it is, we really think it's just one of those things that's keeping up with the trend of new development in downtown Greenville, that is just pushing things in the right direction.
And you've got, about 11,000 square feet of retail?
Got a gross about 11,000 square feet of retail. It'll rent about 9,500. We're hoping for a restaurant and kind of the corner position there, and that would be facing, for those of you who are not familiar where it is, it's facing towards the current Chico's building. Is where we'd like to see kind of our flagship tenant go. Then we'd have room for probably 3 or 4, depending on the size of them, everything from a copying place to a coffee shop to a small clothing store, a convenience store, those kind of things. What we want to do is kind of amenitize the space, meaning that it'll be for our residents as much as it is for the average person.
And I believe a parking deck also.
Yep,
right?
392 spaces in the parking deck.
But there's also the tax value to the citizens of Greenville. It's often not talked about. I mean, we're all excited about the project and everything, but I think it's moving a piece of property that was giving us about $14,000 worth of tax value that goes into the city's coffers to over $100,000 a year.
That's correct. Just the density alone, and I think you're speaking what Carl Reese likes to talk about so much about. It's not just about new construction and new development. It's about dense construction and smart development. And I think that hopefully, we're extremely fortunate to be in a position that we're able to do this. But I mean, this is hopefully a new wave of these types of projects.
Well, I know that, everybody in Greenville is very excited about this project. This is going to probably be one of the transformational things that go downtown. Oh, yeah. But there's a lot of other things that you guys are doing in the area. You care to talk about those new projects? Any other new projects?
Yeah, well, so it's we were actually just in front of the Greenville Low Income Housing Loan Committee this past week to go to request some funds from the Home Commitment Grant, which is federal dollars that are received every year by the city of Greenville. They had not been spent for the past couple of years, so there was a really nice a chunk of money in there that would be loaned to us if we can do an elderly tax credit project. So this would be a 98 unit, 1 and 2 bedrooms, all for folks who are anywhere between 40 and 60% of the county's median income.
And where are you guys looking to do this?
This is going to be out off of Johns Hopkins Drive, which is out in the University Medical Park, just off of Stantonsburg Road, kind of across from the Stanton Square Shopping Center. Okay. And again, this is something that's contingent upon state and federal tax credits. We'll learn in August if it's something that will actually come to fruition. But again, it's just another example of the city working with us in a way that will benefit not only us, but it will benefit Greenville and Pitt County, and it shows foresight, and we really think that it's impressive for the city to step up in any form or fashion, and particularly in this one.
I think it's just amazing, I know you and your father, y'all run a business, and of course the bottom line is to make money, but you guys can go places and do guaranteed projects there, guaranteed return on investment for you guys. But I think it's great that you are staying home and doing this type of investment in the city. As a former city councilman, I know the city council now will appreciate everything you guys doing, and I hope to see lots more of it.
Well, thank you. It sure does help on gas expenditures in some way, and I get home earlier as well when we're not working in other cities. But you're right. There are other opportunities. We'd rather do it in Greenville if we could, though.
Well, Thomas, thank you so much for that update. We appreciate all that you and Taft family are doing for the city of Greenville and what you're bringing here. I think it's a great asset.
Hi, I'm Terry Williams. This is the Greenville Grit. What is it all about, Michael?
Oh, Greenville Residents in Touch, Terry. Thank
That's
you for
right.
coming back in. You said you had a good time watching Thomas and Dennis and Ivy.
I did. I got to watch, and we really do thank the Tafts and the Ward family too on that project, and all that they have are giving back to the community, and like you said, helping develop the community now into what we want to see for the future for our children and our grandchildren in the Uptown area and all throughout Greenville, not just in Uptown.
Well, before we went to break, I made a promise.
Okay.
Yeah, we're going to have fun this next 10
All right,
minutes.
let's have
so
fun.
Let's get into it. We'll start with Saturday. What do you want to talk about?
Okay, yeah. Dennis and I, Dennis there before me, but we were able to attend the Tar River Legacy Plan
Session.
Input session. Yeah, it has a long name. So, Dennis, why don't you tell us a little bit about that? You were there a little bit longer than I was, but it was very interesting, very informative. They had a fairly good crowd. I think they'll have probably more of those meetings.
Yeah.
And it was held at the Willis Building, which was a great facility, the way they had all the maps all around the building. Very easy to get around and see what was happening. So, why don't you shed a little light on how that went?
You just told them about everything.
Not really.
No, it was the first of 3 input sessions of, pretty much how can we improve citizen access to the Tar River for educational purposes, recreational purposes, and just improve the overall quality of life and try to make the river the focal point of the city. So like you said, it was an input section. They had different maps on the history of the Tar River, different land use items as far as, the elevation of the river. It was very much a very informative session. And the residents had the opportunity to go around and write notes on the board and give their input on it. And I think it was overall positive. I learned some things. I didn't know there was a manatee sighting in the Tar River in 1983, so it's considered one of the species of the Tar River.
Oh, good Lord.
The different types of fish and everything like that. And one thing they said, which was very important for me to learn that at that time, is that the Tar River is very, very clean. So it's okay to swim in the Tar River. Right. And the reason why it's important for me to learn that is because I had a boat that went out and had to swim back to shore with a rope to pull it in. So
back in the early 1980s, Terry, I don't know if you remember, but my dad actually held a ski show at the town commons.
About that.
I vaguely remember as a kid we're having to clean all the stumps out so the boats wouldn't hit the stumps. So we had a ski show right there in the town commons in front of us. So yeah, you can ski in, and it's just been 20-some years.
That's what they're talking about, is doing more stuff like that. Getting people more engaged and more active on the river. You know, they said it just looks that way because of all the sediment that's in there. But the Tar River is a very clean environment for recreational activities, and that's what we want to get the citizens back doing. So it was a great first start.
It was. I know Roger Camera was there, and he took tours, people around tours. I saw him walking around a little bit. But that was one of the most interesting things to me, was to really get a good idea through pictures of the history and how much there is and how important the river was for different reasons, you know, back in the olden days. And how important can it be for us now? And so was this part of the river study?
Yes. I mean, the River Study's name change.
Okay.
And it's called a Tar River Legacy Plan. So it's all one and the same. Citizens that missed any of the sessions can go to the Tar River legacyplan.com and give their input there. But like I said, 3 more sessions. I think the next one they're going to actually bring back some conceptual drawings of some ideas they think they can have there, so residents can notate on that, and they can come back with the final one on the third final input session. So they also talked about having some kind of set up at the Pirates Festival as well, so people can go down there and see what's going on. But like I said, it's something big coming for the city of Greenville. I think it's going to be great.
Yeah, we really need more people to come than came Saturday. It was a good turnout. It was the first one, but they really want the input of the public. They need that because it's just such a big deal what they're wanting to do with the river, and they need as many ideas so that they can filter all those through and just see what's the best.
To complain
That's
later
right.
If you don't get involved
exactly. And I'm sure if anybody has any questions about what went on or what's coming up with the Tar River Legacy Plan, that they can also contact Gary Fenton, Parks and Rec. He would be just delighted to talk about it. As a matter of fact, he's going to be on in 2 weeks. And so we'll be able to ask him more about that situation, as well as at the city council meeting this week. Dennis, you know more about what this is called than I do, but they were talking about the budget and a lot of the upcoming, which we'll also have a show on the budget not too long in the future, but a lot of the budget estimates that they were talking about had to do with Parks and Rec.
Oh, yeah. I mean, people just need to get ready. If the city council does what's needed to be due, they're probably going to have to raise taxes. They're probably going to raise fees. So it's important that when we start talking about this, people understand what's about to go on, because it's going to impact you financially this time around, I believe.
Well, it was part of the capital improvement program, and I know from going out to, for instance, Boyd Lee Park with my grandsons to their basketball games, we've got work to do. And just in that one place, you can look around and see that things need to be done. So
and that's one of the newer facilities.
That is. And so we've got some things that have to be taken care of. It's just part of, if you build it, you've got to take care of it.
Exactly. And that's one thing that the city council's previous, including mine, we started to talk about it, but including mine, we haven't had anything set in place for that. So a lot of our buildings are coming of age where it's time to start doing some work on them and keep up the maintenance. So it's going to cost the city a lot. And
they're big things. I know one in particular was replacing a generator at the fire department that's right downtown. Was like $700,000. I mean, they're not inexpensive items that we've got to take care of, but we have no choice. They have to be taken care of. So that's what they refer to as the capital improvement program. So just so the public will know, I'm learning all of this as we go as well, but we want them to know, so that when they're watching the programs, if they are, or reading in the paper, they know, what they're talking about.
But I want to talk about planning and zoning
I'm
last
sure
night.
you do.
Dennis and I had much more fun than you had. We were at the Pirate basketball game.
Yes.
So tell us, Terry, what did you see? What did you hear?
It was interesting. And, I do understand that the residents who wanted to have this for unrelated repealed care very deeply about their homes and their neighborhood, and I understand that. But there also is such a great argument, if you want to call it, on the other side of why we need it to keep the four unrelated in place. Last night, they did vote to repeal that, and they also voted to repeal the overlay. Dennis, you can even shed some light from being on the council and passing to have the four unrelated and to create the overlay. What type of, I'm as interested in, I still never heard last night from their side, if you want to call it that. I hate to put them on sides, but that's basically the way it was. Exactly the reason why the four unrelated is bad.
That's an absolutely good question. I was doing some research before I got here, And actually, if I didn't have so much time focusing on my MBA, I'd probably write a paper on this because there's a lot of misinformation out there, and I really wish the city staff could step up and like put some closure to a lot of it. The crime statistics, is crime going up or down? I mean, the city has yet to weigh in on that. You heard both sides take, but what is the city's take? I was reading some studies today that show that that housing density and population density have no effect on crime. I mean, all this information really needs to be put out there. So I think it's just a fear, and that's what a lot of these studies I was reading talked about, is that residents just fear these things, these myths that your property taxes are going to go down by having renters in there, the fear that you're going to have more crime, the fear that you're going to have more issues just overall. And a lot of those things, there's a lot of research out there that shows otherwise. So if we were able to dialogue on this more, which it doesn't appear like the council is going to do, which we thought the long process that we went through 2 years ago, they criticized so much.
60 days. They're moving 60 days. It's going to be moved.
April 10th, I believe they said the council going to vote.
And you guys took, 8 months the first time?
8 months. So they're going to.
So I want you to hear this, Greenville. In 60 days, they're repealing what the other group took 8 months to put in place. So let's look at hypocrisy here. This is very hypocritical, in my opinion. And I agree with what you said too. And I want to say this, and it's going to make some people mad, and I'm sorry if it does. But you got to. Yes, I care a lot. We're in real estate. We care about homeowners. We want values to go up. I also look at a district that's 85% renter occupied. Now, that's been pretty substantially renter occupied since I was a kid.
Right.
So this is not a new thing.
It's not new.
It's kind of like somebody moving next to the racetrack and then complaining about the noise. I mean, you're moving into a district where they're college students, then you're complaining about the college students.
Right.
And I've got an issue with that. This is that district, and I have seen my whole issue with this is give it time. I'm not saying I won't support the repeal of it. I'm saying, Cross Creek, I hope you're listening tonight, because frankly, you're the swing vote on this. Give it a year. And I think everybody involved in this would be okay to see what the statistics are going to be. But that's not even, this is a 60-day deal. In 60 days, from the time it was first mentioned by Marion Blackburn, it's gone.
Yeah, I did.
What's going to happen in a year and a half when the new council comes in?
Right.
What if it switches again? Are we going to go right back to the 4 unrelated? Because that's exactly what's going to happen if it switches again. And what are we going to do? Every 2 years, switch this thing back and forth. I mean, it's completely ridiculous.
That's what I asked. I brought up that question because the people speaking, wanting to repeal it, kept talking about the crime. And I said, well, what data are you using? Because the police chief wasn't there, wasn't invited to come. And I have to say, last night the staff had no reports on the crime. They couldn't present it. So that is what I asked Planning and Zoning. Why can't we just wait and give this more time? They've had 20 years to get it in the position in the neighborhood that it is now. We have had less than a year when you think about to try to help straighten it up. The other thing that I kept bringing up last night, and we kept hearing it over and over, was code enforcement. No one really had any argument about for people as much as they did the condition of the neighborhood and of the homes. And it was really bothersome to me that these residents who've been living there for 30 years or however how long kept saying, our students are living in housing that isn't decent, isn't in repair condition. And yet they were doing nothing to help them get it in that place. They just were saying, the students' bathtub's falling through the floor, but yet they're not helping to put the complaints forward or help the students get. It just did not seem. All they wanted to do was complain about the condition, but not help everybody get to that point.
You got to look at your historic commission rules when it comes to that too. And I'm speaking as a former chair of the historic commission, but you can't take a $30,000 house and ask them to put a $30,000 window package in there.
Right.
I mean, you've got to be realistic in your rules.
And that's the thing, and I think both of you guys hitting it on the head. All these issues they're saying with the neighborhood had nothing to do with the 4 unrelated. They were the issues you had when there's 3 unrelated.
Exactly.
So instead of focusing on actually what their issues are, they're targeting a policy that has nothing to do with their issues. A 4th resident there will not make the neighborhood less owner occupied. The neighborhood is probably as much owner occupied as it's ever going to be.
But Dennis, you heard Marion herself say this has got nothing to do with the 4 unrelated. Wasn't that the words that came out of her mouth?
And I continue to say it's a feeling thing. She felt like that it's her district and she should have had the say of what goes on, but that's not how government works.
Right.
Allen represented that district and I represented that district, and every city council up there is sworn to do what they feel is best for the entire city of Greenville, and that's what we did. And it's a shame, like you said, everyone believes this process is working. They're ignoring the data. They're just pushing this forward because this was their only agenda.
Yeah, I think too. I would like to say I'm not completely down that code enforcement isn't doing their job at all. So I don't want that to sound like it when we constantly throw that out. It's code enforcement.
Well, there's code enforcement issues.
But there are those issues for whatever reason. Now, I know we have a new civilian director. Is that, I don't know what his title is, that has taken over the code enforcement department. So I think we'll see some things change. And that was another thing I brought up last night. He hasn't been here very long. Let's let him have an opportunity, to work in this area and see what do we need to clean it up. I rode around, and I've seen some things myself just this week. And the one thing about the minimum housing standards that I still can't understand is why even one abandoned, broken down, covered with a tarp vehicle is allowed in any yard, but that is the minimum housing standard, that you can have one vehicle covered out of sight in your yard. Why in any neighborhood in Greenville would we want that?
Well,
so I'm not sure about all these minimum housing standards either, and
I
I'd
want to say
like to
one
see
thing
that
before we go to
reviewed.
break. I read the Daily Reflector newspaper article today about this, and there's actually something that I know is incorrect, and I meant to look it up, but you look at all the cities that have foreign-related opportunities. I mean, you heard Thomas Staff sit here a few minutes ago. They're going to have foreign related in their own complex right uptown. But they mentioned all the cities. Chapel Hill, I mean, everyone knows probably the most liberal city in North Carolina. They've got foreign related. You got some towns that don't even have a cap. But the Daily Reflector put in there that Wilmington does not allow, and that is not true. Because I'm working with student housing developers in Wilmington right now, and I know for a fact that they just recently allowed a foreign related rule in certain areas and within certain zonings of the city. So it is allowed.
When we come back after break, Dennis, I would like for you to talk about the overlay. One of the comments that was made by one of the planning and zoning members last night was that this area was given special treatment that the rest of the city wasn't given, and there was a specific purpose why. And so I want to talk about that when we get back and address that. And I would like to thank the 3 planning and zoning members that voted to keep it like it is. I appreciate their vote. I want to thank Dennis for co-hosting with us today.
Thank you.
And thank our sponsors again, Greenville Toyota, Bill Clark Homes,
Solar Creations and the
Overton Group. Okay, and Dennis, before the break, I talked about maybe you explaining again about the overlay. It's concerning to me, and after I talked with some of the staff yesterday too, before the planning and zoning, what it was going to really mean when they took the overlay off of the area. What happens to things that have been in place, like parking?
And that's the thing. I mean, this was a comprehensive plan we try to put together. We try to address the concerns of the investors who wanted to upgrade their property and the need to get that extra person in there to be able to have the funds to do so, as well as address the issues of the neighborhood, the trash, the crime, the parking, all that stuff. So we put together this comprehensive package. And the only way that you can do this and the only way you can isolate this area is creating the overlay district. So we created an overlay district to do these special things in this one area, to treat it special because it is special. It's a historic neighborhood. There's a majority renters. It's right across the street from the university. We don't want it to get dilapidated like other parts of the city. We want it to be in very good condition. So we put all this stuff in place. By repealing the overlay district, this will potentially take all those good things out of that area. Because it was a package deal. So it's kind of like cutting off your nose to spite your face. You know, it's just they're doing something on principle and they're going to hurt themselves. After this is all said and done, they're going to be back to where they were 2 years ago with the same trash problems, same crime problems, same parking problems, same everything. Right. And I don't understand
spending our taxpayer money, wasting staff's time to start the process over.
And I would not be remiss to say that after this is all said and done, they can probably come back to the city to reimburse their legal fees.
Well, let me say the rear parking is one of the biggest issues that changed last night. Well, it hasn't changed yet, but they've recommended that the policy change because the rear parking allowed up to 4 people living in the house or I guess guests to park in the rear yard, and it also allowed or made them have the screening. Now, when they get rid of this part of the rear parking, then it goes back to as many cars as they want in the rear yards on the improved surfaces, however. There's no regulation now.
You're going to get rid of that. You're going to get rid of the parking permits we just put on the streets because there was complaints that all the students were parking in the neighborhood that were going to campus. You're going to get rid of all that stuff.
Now, one thing last night, I have to say, Shantae did say that the decal parking wouldn't change.
Okay.
She did say that the people who have the parking on the streets with the decals, that stays in place because that's a city ordinance. So what that really will affect for parking, though, is going to be everybody that's been able to park in the rear. Now, one of the planning and zoning members, and I'm going to have to hurry, mentioned let's do this parking all over the city. I don't know how we can go that far and how we even have enough to regulate.
It's not a problem all over the city.
It's not a problem all over the city. Exactly. That's what I wanted to say. But anyway, so we still have lots of discussion, and we will be talking about this a long time between now and April 10th when the city council votes on it.
Well, thank you for all of you who joined in tonight. Thank you again, Dennis, for co-hosting. I wasn't supposed to be here and kind of changed, but you're the man showing up all dressed up tonight. If you have any comments for us or questions, email at greenvillegrit@gmail.com. And please tune in again either Friday night or Saturday morning if you want to rehear this show. And otherwise, I will see you next week.